Hey y'all! I hope you're having a terrific day. For this video, we're going to be doing my first 5x5. First, let me start by explaining what my 5x5 series is going to be. The plan is to choose 5 books with some kind of a theme going on and hope that I may be able to find 5 5-star reads. For the first 5 books, I'm going to be doing the Try a Chapter challenge. So what I did was I went into my library and I told myself I was going to pick up the first 5 books I saw that were on my TBR. The goal here is I'm going to try a chapter from each of them and see which one I want to start with. Before we go over the books I read, let's watch the little bit I filmed while at the library.
Everything I touch disaster. Everything I do is struggle. Everything I touch disaster. Everything I do is struggle. Everything I do brings trouble. Everything I touch catastrophe.
The first one is going to be The Whisper Man by Alex North. This follows a father and son who've recently moved to this small town where there once was a serial killer known as the Whisper Man. After the father-son end up moving into the town, a young boy ends up disappearing, and the work is very similar to that of the suspected serial killer behind bars. I've heard good things on Alex North, and I have to say both The Whisper Man and I think it's The Shadows are very gorgeous covers that I'm so intrigued by. So I can't wait to start on this one tonight. Next up, I got one that is very popular on BookTube right now, which is The City We Became by N.K. Jemisin. This is a fantasy, I believe an urban fantasy, that follows the personifications of New York boroughs. Don't really know much more than that, but I'm definitely intrigued by it. I've also heard tons of good things about N.K. Jemisin's writing, and I thought this one might be a good way to start off in her work, just because I know the 5th season is a bit more high fantasy than I usually deal with. Next up is one I've been wanting to read for quite a while now, and that is Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. Yeah, that's right. This is a hate-to-love queer romance that follows the first son of the US president and I believe the Prince of Wales or England or somewhere over there. This one has had nothing but praise all over BookTube, and I've heard it's hilarious and heartfelt and adorable. I personally love hate-to-love romances, so I can't wait to dive into this one. I'm making myself wait because I know I'm gonna read the first chapter and probably automatically want to keep going. Next up is Her One Mistake by Heidi Perks. This I heard about over on Eric at Break Even Books. I think it was his mom's favorite book. I'm gonna try and link that in the cards if I can find it again. The story is following 2 women, one of which took her children and her best friend's child to a carnival, but at one point her best friend's child ends up getting kidnapped. Can't wait to get into this one. I probably will blast through this. I just have a feeling it seems like it will be so suspenseful. Finally, You Deserve Each Other by Sarah Hogel. So with this one, I actually swore this was on my TBR because I remember reading it on Goodreads and being like, that sounds like something I would like. But then I picked it up at the library, came home, was like, did I add that to my Goodreads? And when I double checked, I had not. This one I'm kind of cheating with. This seems like it's a love to hate to love romance, and it's following Naomi, who is set to marry a guy, but unfortunately she's kind of fallen out of love with him, and she wants to break off the engagement, but the person who breaks it off has to pay for the wedding, and she's determined not to let that happen. So instead, she starts to pull all of these ridiculous pranks on her fiance in the hopes that he will get fed up with her and be the one to cancel the wedding. But inevitably, he figures out what she's doing and starts pulling pranks in return. I was telling my boyfriend about this and mentioned that it kind of sounded like something he and I would do, meaning the pranking each other thing. But when I mentioned, yeah, she's kind of just lost interest in her fiance, I kind of gave him a mini heart attack. Across the board, I do want to eventually read all of these books. I don't know if it'll all happen this month, and I'm apprehensive to see how many of them I'm gonna absolutely love and not want to put down, because I usually don't read more than 1 physical book at a time. And all of these are due back in 2 weeks. So that was really easy because it turns out the first chapter of The Whisper Man is like 4 pages long. So I read it in no time. I am already a little bit intrigued. We saw a third person from the perspective of the Whisper Man. So that's a cool little way to kick off. We're already seeing from the point of view of the killer. There was a comment that majority of child abduction cases happen by someone who knows the child, which is a true statistic, and makes me intrigued to think that the Whisper Man probably knows the kids that he kidnaps, so he must be someone relatively well-liked, known in the community, is normal enough to have kids trust him so he can learn about the kids and kind of either groom them or at least win over their trust a little bit so that he can take them away. I kind of want to already read more because 4 pages is not a lot, but this is called Try a Chapter Challenge, so I'm not going to. I'm going to be a good cookie and only read that 1 chapter. Okay, y'all. I finished the first chapter, which was actually the prologue, and I would have kept reading until the end of the first chapter, but that's like 50 pages in, so I'm gonna stick with the prologue. And what the f did I just read? This is so weird, and I'm so intrigued, and I can't wait to keep reading, if I'm being honest. Like, the writing style is so interesting. It's very much like stream of consciousness, kind of. Everything within the city is anthropomorphized. Is that how you pronounce that? Anthropomorphized? Is that a word? I don't know. It sounds like it should be. I don't even know. This was so weird. We are meeting one of the avatars for one of the boroughs, I assume. I'm still not really sure which borough because I don't know New York that well. I think it's a black man, and that's all I have. It's in first person. Also, we love a book with a nice map in it. It has little images that definitely are true to more traditional fantasy. For example, like Here There Be Dragons with the arrow going off the side. Definitely gonna keep reading this at some point. Have already kind of failed at only reading 1 chapter because I ended up finding The Whisper Man for audiobook, and it was available on my library's app, so I already got that and have continued. I also put myself on the list for the audiobook for this. Next, I think I'm gonna go with Red, White, and Royal Blue. I read 2 books before going into this one, but I really just can't wait any longer. I'm so excited to start it, so that's where I'm going next. Okay, y'all, I just finished reading the first chapter and I'm already in love with this book. It's gonna take so much effort to stop reading this. I already am in love with both of these characters. Alex is very much like snarky, sarcastic, and Henry's super prim and proper and like kill him with kindness. And I love that dynamic between the two of them, especially because Alex thinks of them as like arch nemesis. And that's hilarious. The ending of the chapter literally made me laugh out loud. I am so ready to continue reading this. I think one of the biggest reasons I really enjoy romance stories that are hate to love is because there's so much more chemistry and passion there. And I can already see that just from the little bit I've seen of Alex and Henry's interactions. Because again, they're both being very like snippy to each other, but in very different and distinct ways. If I read the next 2 tomorrow, I might spend the rest of the weekend trying to read this. Alright, so I just finished the first chapter for Her One Mistake, and I'm already intrigued. There was a little prologue that was labeled as Now, in which Charlotte, the mom who was watching the little girl when she went missing, is speaking with the police. And then it jumps in the next actual chapter to 13 days prior, where they are going to this little festival put on by a PTA at a school, and her two children go on this inflatable bounce house thing with the little girl who goes missing named Alice. While they're playing on that, the mom kind of goes and entertains the littlest kid and is kind of just looking at her phone and spacing out and doing whatever. And when she goes back to the inflatable to pick the kids up and go on to the next thing, they can't find Alice. And that's literally where the first chapter ends. From the label of the next chapter, it seems as though we're jumping into the perspective of Alice's mom, Harriet. So I'm already intrigued and want to keep reading. This isn't very long. It's 300 pages. This try a chapter thing is not for me. I don't only read one chapter and then put it back down. I usually keep reading, especially with these thrillers that usually suck me in so much.
I thought we'd do a change of scenery, so I'm sitting out in the backyard because it's Labor Day and it's fairly nice out for right now. It's probably gonna get crazy hot, who knows, but I finished the prologue and the first chapter of You Deserve Each Other, and I'm a little intrigued. I'm not as invested yet as I was with Red, White, and Royal Blue, but basically we're learning about Naomi and her start of her relationship with Nicholas in the prologue. We're actually seeing on their first date, and she's all super excited. They went to a drive-in and she's just counting down the minutes until he kisses her, and it's still very new and interesting and fun. Then in the first chapter we jump to nearly 2 years later and they are now engaged. They live in this small town in I think Wisconsin. They don't really spend time with each other. It seems as though they are both very much stuck in the domestic comfortability of their relationship, but she comments that he never goes out to events with her and her friends, and she never hangs out with him and his friends. And actually the end of the first chapter, she comments how the way she fakes a smile to him and makes it so convincing is she thinks about looking at him in her rearview mirror as she leaves the town forever. So ouch. She also comments that she feels as though she no longer really has an identity. She's just simply part of this couple and is the pre-Mrs. Rose, which naturally made me think of Schitt's Creek. So I'm definitely anticipating that Naomi is going to try and find herself again and reestablish herself as an individual before she becomes comfortable in the relationship she has with Nicholas again. I'm still intrigued. I got the audiobook for this one off my library's app as well, and I think I'll probably start listening to this again just later. Once again, I am failing at only trying a chapter. I have now finished The Whisper Man, which I really enjoyed. I kind of called who did it, but not specifically. I profiled him correctly, if that makes sense. And then I have read 200 pages into Red, White, and Royal Blue, and I'm absolutely loving it. I read the majority of that yesterday because I just couldn't put the book down. So I have officially finished the first chapter of all 5 books, and yay! Look at me, I did the try a chapter challenge. I just failed at only trying a chapter. Thank you. Obviously, I think The Whisper Man and Red, White, and Royal Blue definitely won because I instantly continued reading. I'm definitely gonna try and finish Red, White, and Royal Blue probably either today or tomorrow, and then I think I'm gonna pick up Her One Mistake and try and blast through that as well. Probably whenever I go back to work, I'll probably whenever I go back to work, I'll start listening to the audiobook for this one. Okay, so this was my first 5x5. In the future, I will be reading the full book and doing a more comprehensive review of them after I finish. But for now, this was a fun way to kick off this new series on my channel. So thank you so much, guys, for coming to check me out. I really appreciate it. Make sure to hit like and subscribe down below. I come out with videos on Monday and Friday. But until then, I hope you continue to have a terrific day. Bye.